Good evening, Otherworldlies. This is Queen Juliana, your Dark Mass Diva. So I thought I'd talk about the FWB phenomenon a little more. Alright, so there's something that happens with the FWBs when they develop limerence for the person that they're with. There's a dynamic between somebody and their FWB. One person in the relationship sometimes develops limerence for the other person in the relationship. There's one person in the relationship who really just wants, the casual situation where they just want to be able to just kick it, hang out with that person, and do whatever they're doing with that person, and they just want some kind of casual situation, and then they want the person to just go home or, whatever. And the other person, has limerence for that person. They have a crush on them. They feel like they're kind of in love with them, and they secretly actually want to be with that person. Okay, and I'm going to talk about the person that has the crush on the other person. Now, there are that one person in the FWB relationship. I'm going to try to put this in the nicest way possible, but a lot of the times they don't understand that they don't qualify as a candidate to be in an actual relationship. They lack awareness, that person, does not consider them somebody that they would be with, but they're emotionally bonding with that person because they are physically coming together with that person. Okay, so, but meanwhile, that other person is just kind of, in it for a good time and that sort of thing. So the other person starts becoming clingy and relationshipy and that kind of thing. And, Atalon said that you're kind of in a you kind of are in a relationship with that person because you are coming together, you are doing things together, you are, physically intimate with that person. So one person kind of does see it as a relationship, and the other person just sees it as a physical convenience, and you're having company with that person. So there are two people in the situation who see it as something completely different. Now, I've been in situations where the FWBs actually turn into something dangerous. Now, when I'm talking about my experiences with FWBs, this is when I was in my 20s. And I'm going to talk about FWBs, and I'm hoping, you guys, that after you're no longer in your 20s, you're no longer doing nonsense like having FWB, okay? Because when you're in your 20s, you're doing a whole lot of experimental things with your life. And when people in their 20s, you're in that mindset where you don't really want to settle down. You're kind of like experimenting and kind of trying to figure out what your sexuality is, and kind of you don't really want to settle down, and you're more just kind of not really wanting to make a commitment and that kind of thing. So that was a time in my life where I wanted to have relationships like that. I would rather not have committed relationships. I wanted to date. If I would find someone cool, that would be one thing, but I was more trying to avoid having a relationship, to be honest. I mean, I didn't want to get all up in my feelings and stuff. I would rather just have a casual relationship like that. But every time I tried to have FWB, they would turn into some kind of stalker. So I realized that I could not have relationships like that. And then when I got older, all I did was have relationships because, of course, I had outgrown that concept of FWB, and, I was, a maturing woman, and I realized that's really kind of degrading to do things like that when you're a woman. But, I was also out of my experimental phase, and I was also, thinking about other things in life, wanting to get on with my life, wanting to do things that were more meaningful and that sort of thing. But I had also, had to learn the hard way that FWB develop crushes, they develop limerence, they also do a lot of toxic things. and I'm going to talk about why FWB is a very toxic thing to do. So if you're considering having a relationship like that, I'm just going to talk about some of the pitfalls and some of the things that they do. And I'm not going to say that this is going to happen to everybody, but this is some of the things that they do. Now, I was talking about something, that it was kind of funny. Okay, and I could talk about a lot of the things that they do, and I can go into some things that will probably get my channel in trouble. So there's a lot of rabbit hole that I'm not going to go down. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about a few things because you're probably going to go, you left a lot out. Okay, well, I'm probably going to have to leave a lot out. I'm probably just going to have to talk about a few of the finer points and not really have to go there. So I'm just going to talk about a few of the toxic dynamics that they do. Okay. One of the things that they do is they try to give other people the impression that you're in an actual relationship with them. Okay, they try to give you a pet name, and they try to call you the pet name in front of other people. All right, so I had this one FWB, and she kept trying to call me babe. Well, I don't like the word babe. So, I told her not to call me babe at all. And I mean, this is even when I was alone with her. I said, I don't like the word babe. It's really annoying. Once you hear it once, it was annoying enough to me, but you hear it over and over and over. Yeah, someone's ready to call the cops on me because I'm just that annoyed. I want to hear the word babe again. And no offense if you and yours call each other babe, but I just think that's really annoying. So one time she was at my house and my mom dropped by. And of course, I didn't want my mom to see me with this person because, when you're doing something wrong, and then one of your parents drops in on you. So I said, this is my mom. I'm going to have to get the door. I go, I don't really want her to know what's going on here, so be cool. Of course, she didn't want to be cool. She wanted to give my mom the impression that she and I were actually seeing each other, right? So my mom comes in, and she's next to me going, trying to act like we were together, and my mom was her new mother-in-law and all this kind of stuff, and she would call me babe, and every time she did, I would just give her a really dirty look like STFU, and she would, try to suck up to my mom and act really super nice to my mom, I hope I see you again soon kind of thing, and say all this stuff to my mom, and my mom's looking at her just kind of and looking at me what are you doing with her? You can do a lot better than that. What are you doing with this piece of trash? Honestly, I think you have better taste than this, because the thing about FWBs, guys, FWBs are tend not to be the classiest people on earth, okay? When you go to search for an FWB, you don't find a classy person. You generally try to find, the trashiest piece of trash you can find, because those are the people. If you wanted to find somebody with a whole lot of class, that's somebody you would actually date, right? That's somebody that you'd want to marry. That's somebody that you'd want to introduce to mom and dad. That's somebody that you'd actually want to be with. So when you go to find an FWB, that's somebody who's trashy. And an FWB is usually somebody who's not very attractive. Okay, that's somebody who's a 3, a 2. You know what I'm saying? That's somebody who's not very good looking. So my mom's looking at me didn't I raise you better than this? I'm trying not to be mean here, but this person was trash, right? So my mom's just looking at me where did I go wrong? Where did you find her? So she keeps calling me babe, and I keep giving her this warning look first of all, I told her not to call me babe, period, and secondly, I'm giving her this warning look you better knock it off. And she kept just really trying to kiss up to my mom and act all familiar she was my girlfriend and doing all this other stuff. So, and I'm getting really mad because later on I'm going to have to explain to my mom that that's not really my girlfriend, and explain, try to figure out a way to tell my mom why she was acting like that. So later on I had to tell my mom, yeah, that woman really likes me, but I don't like her very much. And my mom goes, yeah, well, maybe you should stop hanging out with her because she has an obsessive crush on you. And I go, yeah, I know. So I didn't want my mom to figure it out. You don't want your parents to know the things you're doing wrong with your life. Okay, so this FWB, she's embarrassing me. Okay, So meanwhile, that's not the only thing she was doing. Everywhere, whenever I wasn't around, she was just talking to everybody like we were together, like we were a couple, and she was just obsessively talking about me all the time. So we'd be hanging out or something like that, and are you so-and-so's girlfriend? I go, no, we're just friends. And I would have to just keep checking the situation and saying, no, we're just friends to everybody, right? So, people would wait till she wasn't around. They're like, hey, do you want to hang out later? And they would just make sure she wasn't around and just want to hang out with me alone and stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, cool, yeah, sure, But I would have to just keep checking the situation and letting them know, no, we are just friends. And I would have to keep setting everybody straight. We are just friends. No, she likes me more than I like her. We are just friends. And, oh, she makes it sound like something else. No, it's nothing else. And so, and then every time, she would say babe, I'd say stop saying babe. So guess what? I had to get rid of her, because she was just going around trying to make it look like we were together, giving my mom the wrong impression. So then my mom and I went to the store, and she saw my mom at the store, and she ran up to my mom, and she tried to get my mom into this big conversation, and she was talking to my mom, I really miss your daughter, and going on and on and on, and my mom's trying to be really nice to her and everything, like who's this basket case who's obsessed with my daughter, like, okay, Juliana, you left another broken heart, good for you, I think you can do better than her, nice going. But it's the same though. It doesn't matter what gender you go out with, okay? I've had a guy, FWB, who he did the same stuff. So it doesn't matter, obviously I like both genders. It doesn't matter what gender you like, they do the same stuff. Because I was with a guy who did the same exact thing. Okay? And they were both not understanding that they did not qualify as somebody that I would really want to be with. But they were trying to give everybody else the impression that we were together. That's what they do, you guys. Okay? They try to make everyone think you're together. You know why? Because they don't want you to see somebody else. Okay? They don't want you to see somebody else. They don't, and you have to go setting everybody straight. No, we're not really together. And then the other people will be like, oh, well, you want to go out and do something? Like once you set someone straight, then the other people ask you out, or they ask you to do something without that person around. Okay, but like you go around setting people straight like all the time, and then they try to put their arm around you in public, and you take their arm off of you, and then you kind of step away from them, and they try to hold your hand, and you pull your hand away, kind of like Melania Trump. And stuff like that, and you're always like, and they try to give you a pet name, and you tell them, no, you need to call me by my actual name, and you're just always trying to like put them in check and let them know that you're not their girlfriend, you're not their boyfriend, you need to knock it off. And they're completely clueless to why, we're not really a couple, and you're telling them you're my friends with benefits, and they, and they know the deal. But they still try to make it into more, and they still try to make other people think it's more. Okay, so they don't respect what the actual arrangement is. Okay, and it's not like they're doing anything like paying your rent or doing anything for you. It's not like they're your real boyfriend or girlfriend, but they just want everybody to think. Okay, because they don't want anyone else near you. There's ways around it, but they will follow you around and try to throw a C block so no one else gets near you. And you will just have to eventually get rid of that person. And the fact of the matter is, you shouldn't be having those kind of relationships in the first place. Okay, they're shady. And you shouldn't be dealing with those people in the first place. I mean, it's better to just be celibate and wait and just date somebody cool than to just be hanging around this trash and, I call it dumpster diving. Okay, you shouldn't. I mean, these people are so just really that unqualified to be with you. And really, when you're with these people, you have these beer goggles on. Like they're a lot less attractive than you, and they're not really qualified to be hanging around you in the first place. You're bored. You're hanging around these people because you're bored. Okay, and you're just you need something to do with your sex drive, and you should have just left them alone. Okay, so, and I think we all do things in our 20s that we regret a little bit, but we had to kind of learn the hard way. You know what I'm saying? But these FWBs, they do that. You're probably the best thing that they're ever going to have, and they're trying to lock it down. Okay, so that's what these FWBs do, and they're really just embarrassing, and and you have to you're having to constantly set it straight with people, and it's embarrassing because people realize they're the FWB. Because they're like, this person is really sprung on you for some reason, and people figure it out. Okay, so it's kind of like your laundry's out there, and it's just embarrassing. It just is. I mean, a lot of us have had relationships like that, but it's still really embarrassing. It's like, it's like, it's not really like a classy thing to do. And it was a really long time ago, but I look back on it and I'm like, that was not a classy thing to do, and I would never do it now. And I look back on myself like I was a different person back then. And if you think about it, I had like a drug addiction, and when you have a drug addiction, that separates you from your spirituality, and it separates you from your emotions. So you're a different person. So you think differently, you feel differently. So that's something I would just never do now. And I was different maturity wise, and I just I operate on a different level now. And when I look back on that, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. But I guess that was just something I needed to do to grow up and to be the classy woman I am now. But I'm telling you guys right now, just don't do that, because these people will just constantly go through your life and embarrass you in front of your folks. They'll embarrass you in front of everybody, and they'll just show up when you're just in town doing whatever you're doing, and you might be talking to somebody cool, and they'll pop up and try to make themselves look like a jealous boyfriend or girlfriend. And ruin your chances, because they'll just look like some jealous lover or something. So you could be going out with somebody really nice, and they're just getting in your way. All right, FWB. So say like you have not cut ties with the FWB, and you actually are in a relationship with somebody nice. Okay, if that person is still in your life, they're going to ruin the relationship that you're in with a nice person, because they're going to be hanging around. Okay, the nice person you're with is you're not going to be able to sustain the relationship with the nice person you're with if you're still friends with the FWB. Okay, because that just looks bad on you. All right, if you still have that person in your life, you cannot have a decent relationship with anybody, because the FWB is just going to go around making you look bad all the time. And that's really bad on you to keep an FWB in your life if you want to go on and date somebody decent. Okay, you have to make sure all of those kinds of people are no longer in your life. You have to cut ties with all those kinds of people if you want to move on with your life and actually make something of yourself. Okay, if you want to be successful, you have to get rid of everything out of your life that you were doing that was dirty. Okay, so you have to get rid of all the trash out of your life. You have to throw away all the trash. Okay, you can't be a hoarder. You have to get rid of all the FWBs, all your exes, all those people. You just have to get rid of it all, because you're not going to be able to keep anyone decent in your life, because the decent people will look at that and be like, okay, well, First of all, they're going to look down on you for it. Okay. And secondly, they're going to be like, okay, well, he or she's messing with that person on the side, because you probably are. Okay, why else would you keep them around? That's why you keep that person around, so you can mess with them. I mean, why else would they be around? So that's bad on you to even have that person in your life. Just get rid of them, okay? They mean you nothing but trouble. So get rid of that FWB. They're just like no good. They really can't do anything good for you. They're really just a troublemaker. They're really not going to do anything much with their lives but have a crush on you. I had the same FWB stalk me for like 20 years. I had to keep like blocking her on social media, and she would find out where I'd work and she'd stand there and stare at me, and yeah, that was the one that said babe. So that's like one of my life's biggest regrets. Yeah. So, and she did a bunch of other like really awful stuff that I don't even want to talk about. I mean, she was just really a piece of work. So you never know like what kind of trouble you're getting into just because you're trying to have a casual relationship with somebody. So I just tell people not to have those kinds of relationships. But I was like really young. I didn't even know better. So, and that was a really long time ago. But you don't know what kind of repercussions that's going to have on you years down the road. Like, don't do it. I'm telling you right now, if you're young and you're watching me, like, do not have relationships like that. Even if you're trying to get stuff out of your system, I would just like tell you not to do it. Okay. So let's see, trying to think of what else I can say about FWB, but I do not want to get into any kind of trouble. So I think I'm going to end the video here, and I hope that you guys have a beautiful evening, and I will see you in the next content. Bye bye.